a big welcome to our first Engineering Open House Day guest, Sophie Harker. Let's say hello, guys. Brilliant.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be back at the IT.
Brilliant. I mean, that was some video as well. So can you help the viewers at home with what the difference is first between aerospace engineering and aeronautical engineering? Because we've heard those terms both sort of in the same sentence.
Yeah, and they're kind of interchangeable to an extent. They're very, very similar. So aeronautical is very much more planes, hot air balloons, gliders, things like that, whereas aerospace also includes space. So it's kind of like and aeronautical is like a sub-part of aerospace, is how I would describe it. But you can kind of use the both of them, really. It doesn't really matter too
And which
much.
one are you kind of going into? Is the area you're most sort of looking
So I'd say aerospace, because I do work on sort of aircraft that fly in the atmosphere, and then I do work on aircraft that fly above the atmosphere in space. So I work on a few different bits and pieces. So yeah,
Wow.
I'd say more aerospace for me.
And what was it, a dream as a child to become a sort of aeronautical and aerospace engineer? How did you even think of going into this?
It wasn't at all. I didn't know what engineering was. I was 19 before I found out what an engineer was. And when I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be everything, really. I wanted to be an athlete. I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to be a vet. I wanted to be everything I could want to be. And when I was 16, I kind of realized that actually all those different bits and pieces formed the vision of an astronaut. And I was like, actually, maybe that's what I want to do. And that kind of led me into aerospace engineering through that dream.
Wow. And did you have any role models when you were young then? Was it somebody who really got you kind of interested in it and helped you to go up that career path?
Yeah, definitely. So as I mentioned, when I was 19 was when I found out being an engineer, what an engineer was. And I met Dr. Helen Sharman, who was the first British person in space. Yeah, so I got to meet her, and she was the first person to say, okay, engineering isn't, fixing washing machines or satellites. It's not that. It's creating, it's innovating, it's making things from your brain real into real life. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And so I kind of just tailored all my studies and everything towards that from there.
And you still sound massively enthusiastic about it all. Is it something that's always been like your enthusiasm? And what still excites you most about the sort of STEM area?
Yeah, so I think the more I know about it, the more interested I get in it. So when I first started working in aerospace, I didn't know a lot about planes. Absolutely nothing, if I'm honest. And I had to learn a lot about them. And the more I learn, the more interesting they become. And I'm like, okay, wow. So it's not just, there's some wings and you get in the air. There's really clever bits of aircraft that people don't think about. And that's what makes it more interesting for me. But I think the main thing that gets me motivated is, and as sort of mentioned earlier, is the legacy you leave. You get to leave an amazing legacy that in 100 years' time, people will be like, oh, so that's what you worked on, or it will still exist. And I think that's an incredible thing to be part of. And there's very few jobs that let you do that, and engineering does that, no matter which field you're in.
And this is really exciting. You're literally sort of aspiring to be an astronaut. That's what you want to end up doing, isn't it, actually? And do you think it's something that you're going to get to? And what about viewers at home? How could they follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do. It's not an easy thing to be like, oh, wake up one day, I'm going to go to space, unless you're Jeff Bezos or so. But unfortunately, you have to work quite hard for quite a long time. So I'm fingers crossed, I'm doing my best. So I have all the basic qualifications. So I have a master's degree in a STEM subject of sorts. I have experience in aerospace engineering and things like that. And there's other things that I'm doing in my spare time to try and help my chances. So I'm learning to fly a plane myself, learning other languages, those sort of things that I'm trying just to make myself as good a candidate as possible. So fingers crossed, hopefully, one day I'll make it up there.
That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? And so what's the most exciting thing you've worked on so far, in engineering?
Oh, that's a hard question, a very hard question. I think one of the most exciting projects I've worked on was a space plane and working with space planes. But from that, I moved into something called hypersonics. Now, hypersonics is something people don't really know much about. It's not a real thing yet, really. Essentially, a hypersonic aircraft is something that flies faster than 5 times the speed of sound. So that's like 70,000 miles per hour. So like 1,000 times faster than where you go on a motorway. So it's pretty fast. Wow. Yeah. So flying that fast causes a whole host of problems. So not only do you need an engine that can fly that fast, but when you're flying that fast, the aircraft melts. It's too hot. So solving all of those challenges, I think that's probably one of the most exciting things I've worked on.
Yeah, brilliant.